We are coming towards the end of the evening. And I would like to end on one short story here for you. And to say first that you have been an amazing audience. I've really enjoyed listening with you. You know, these days, the news is kind of in our face all the time, and it seems to be instantaneous and not necessarily always welcomed, but it didn't always used to be that way. I'm going to take you to another time and place. This will be a little bit of a challenge with your imagination, but I feel like it's all honed up right now. But picture that place where there's no Facebook to find out what's going on. There's no Twitter or Instagram. There's no email. There are no cell phones. They're not even landlines. 100 years ago, this story, short little story, was being told. And a man named Nat M. Wills recorded it and put it onto a disc that was played on a gramophone. Not too long after that, a man up in Maine heard it. He liked it. He ran a camp for youngsters and older teenagers and such up in Maine. So he learned it and would tell it to them. And then he also taught it to his son, who was a storyteller and a humorist named Marshall Dodge. Now, in certain circles, Marshall Dodge was famous for his Bert and I stories from New England. And then Marshall Dodge gifted that story to myself and my storytelling partner, who's also my cousin, Barbara Freeman. And we used to tell it in tandem, back and forth. But for 20 years, I haven't given voice to that story. And for some reason, with all the news out there, I thought this might be the perfect setting to tell it and bring it back to life. It's called No News, or What Killed the Dog. Now, a certain Southern gentleman was returning home after recuperating from a long illness. He'd been gone 3 months, and he was traveling by train. And one of his farm hands, the head farm hand, he was going to meet him at the station platform. So that gentleman got off the train and saw his friend there, went right up to him and said, "Oh, it's so good to see you, George. I appreciate you coming here to pick me up. And what's the news?" And George, he said, "No news." "No news? I've been gone for 3 months. Surely there's some news you can share with me. I'm really anxious for any little bit, you know." "Well, now that you mentioned it, of course, it don't amount to much, but your dog died." "My dog died? How did my dog die?" "Well, he ate some of that burnt horse flesh." "Burnt horse flesh?" "Well, yeah, you see, after the barn burned down and the fire cooled off, the dog went over and ate some of the burnt horse flesh, and that's what killed your dog." "My barn burned down?" "Oh, yes, cows and horses, everything. And then the dog went over and ate some of the burnt horse flesh, and that's what killed your dog." "How did the barn burn down?" "Oh, I'll tell you that. It was a spark from the house. You see, it flew over, lit on the roof of the barn, burned down the barn, burned up all the cows and horses, and When that fire cooled off, the dog went over and ate some of the burnt horse flesh. And that's what killed the dog. A spark from the house? Oh, yes, now that's completely burned down. How did my house burn down? Oh, it was the candles. Those candles inside, see, they caught onto the curtains, and that flame, I'll tell you, it just shot up the side of the wall, burned down the house. A spark flew over, lit on the roof of the barn, burned down the barn, burned up all the cows and horses, and when the fire cooled off, the dog went over and ate some of the burnt horse flesh, and that's what killed the dog. Candles? I don't even allow candles in my house. How did candles get in the house? Oh, they was around the coffin. The coffin? Who died? Oh, it was your mother-in-law who died. What a pity. How did she die? Well, some folks say it was from the shock of hearing that your wife run off with the choir leader. But I gotta tell you, other than that, there ain't been no news.